Newsweek reports that Joe Biden might be asked by 25 House Democrats to step down, where the Telegraph comment says, Michelle Obama the only Biden alternative who would beat Trump. New York Times reported, Biden tells allies he knows he has only days. Newsweek reports that Joe Biden might be asked by 25 House Democrats to step down, where the Telegraph comment says, Michelle Obama the only Biden alternative who would beat Trump. New York Times reported, Biden tells allies he knows he has only days to salvage candidacy. Newsweek comments as, Donald Trump heading for landslide victory, new polling suggests.
SCMP comments as, Russia and North Korea pact dooms U.S. hopes of Indo-Pacific dominance, as deepening Russia and North Korea ties test U.S. and South Korea deterrence strategy. The Taliban tell the West to look past harsh edicts on Afghan women and girls and build ties. China, Australia donate buildings, airstrips in Pacific influence race.
Tucker Carlson announces interview with Zelensky, and Zelensky's spokesperson denies claim of upcoming interview with pro-Russian Tucker Carlson. Poland's Law and Justice says no to Orban's Patriots and stays with Meloni's group in EU Parliament. Scholz promises Germany won't be party in Ukraine war, and Germany will never support ceasefire that entails Ukraine's surrender, says Scholz.
FedEx. Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings is one of the first Democratic MAGAtoners to call for Biden to step aside. Joe Biden sit down with George Stephanopoulos, moves to Friday primetime as pressure on President on the U.S. increases from debate debacle.
Russia cheers Marine Le Pen's national rally in French election. French left and centrist parties unite to block far-right national rally. Renowned Nazi hunter in France advises Jews to choose far-right over far-left in elections. Donald Trump challenges hush money conviction hours after immunity ruling. House Republicans sue Attorney General Garland for access to audio from Biden's interview with special counsel Hull. John Dean says Nixon would have survived Watergate under immunity ruling.
Pakistani court sentences Christian man to death for posting hateful content against Muslims. No Muslim representation in India's cabinet as Modi starts third term, and it had been commented as, Muslims in India continue to be targeted by emboldened mobs under Modi 3.0. Singapore prepared to recognize Palestine if it renounces terrorism and accepts Israel.
Count Binface, Elmo and AI Steve, the UK election's unusual candidates. Starmer says UK won't rejoin EU trade bloc in his lifetime, and UK to vote in parliamentary elections expected to end a Conservative rule, as Keir Starmer's Labour Party tipped for historic election win as UK voters go to the polls. Democratic governors vowed to stand with Biden after shaky debate performance. Recently, Biden to hold crisis meeting with Democratic governors at the White House. White House denies report that Biden is considering dropping out, as Biden says he screwed at debate but vows to stay in election. Fauci says he has no doubt Biden is capable of continuing as president.
Business leaders, pro-democracy activists send letter asking Biden to withdraw, as a $14 billion Walmart heir joins Novogratz urging Biden exit. President Biden fights critics calling for him to drop out, asserts he's most qualified to beat Trump in high-stakes ABC News interview. Putin unlikely to congratulate Starmer on election win, announces Kremlin. Putin congratulates Pezeshkian on his election as Iranian president. Donald Trump congratulates right-wing pal Nigel Farage on UK election win, but ignores new Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Rishi Sunak resigns as Tory leader as well as PM after election defeat. Hamas says it rejects any statements about foreign forces entering Gaza. Turkey's Erdogan hopeful on Gaza ceasefire, says West must pressure Israel. Haberturk reports. Hamas briefs Hezbollah on proposal for ceasefire. Hezbollah welcomes step, sources say.
Putin says discussed principles of Europe's future security architecture with Orban, and from Orban to Putin, we do not feel safe, we see the images of war and destruction, as Russia and Hungary continue cooperating on basis of pragmatism, announced Putin. Serbia vows unwavering Russian support despite Western pressure, says Deputy PM.
Reuters reports, Philippines turned down U.S. help amid South China Sea tensions, says military chief, and China anchors monster ship in South China Sea, Philippine Coast Guard says. Japan calls Chinese buoy in its southern continental shelf regrettable, and U.S. sending dozens of new fighter jets to Japan bases in $10 billion force modernization. SCMP comments as China treads complex path between North and South Korea as nuclear risk rises.
Iran's role in October 7th attack will be proven beyond doubt. ADL says, recently, Iran's Khamenei says region needed the October 7th attack, and Palestinian presidency hits back at remarks by Iran's Khamenei on October 7th attack. Hamas accepts U.S. proposal on talks over Israeli hostages, Hamas source says, and Hamas clears the way for a possible ceasefire after dropping key demand, officials say. Montreal police remove protesters from pro-Palestinian encampment at Victoria Square.
Newsom says, Trump wants to take us back to a pre-1960s world. Trump denies knowing about Project 2025, his allies' sweeping plan to transform the U.S. government, as Donald Trump claims Republicans' Project 2025 has nothing to do with him. Abysmal. Italian Premier Meloni rebukes the youth wing of her far-right party for glorifying fascism.
The slogan, Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally Party leads in first round of French election, and violent protest against far-right National Rally erupt in Paris, as Macron urges tactical voting. Twice as many Britons want tax rises as want cuts, survey finds.
Biden makes another blunder. Says he will beat Donald Trump again in 2020, as Biden is at peace if he loses to Trump. Says as long as I gave it my all. And Biden says only the Lord Almighty could make him drop out in pivotal TV interview. Biden says, is able to counter Putin, contain China.
Orban, allies announce right-wing, Patriots for Europe, alliance, as Austrian far-right, Hungary's Orban form new EU alliance. Portugal's far-right joins Viktor Orban's Patriots for Europe alliance. Jean-Luc Mélenchon will not be PM if left-wing alliance wins majority, Greens candidate says. The conversation comments as, the far-right has surged to the lead in France's elections. But forming a government remains a tall order.
In the U.S., state social media laws aimed at protecting conservative users remain blocked, Supreme Court says. In Spain, adults who want to access porn sites must have a 30 access digital card valid for 30 days. In Argentina, government proposes lowering age of criminal responsibility from 16 to 13.
Amplifies calls to jail top elected officials, invokes military tribunals, and Liz Cheney fires back at Trump after he calls for televised military tribunals for former Congresswoman. Ahead of election, Venezuela's Maduro says he has agreed to resume negotiations with United States. 39 died, over 350 injured in Kenya's anti-tax protests.
Trump has some immunity in D.C. election interference case. Supreme Court rules. 2 of Donald Trump's golf course liquor licenses not renewed. Trump seeks to toss New York felony conviction after immunity win. And Supreme Court rules former presidents have broad immunity, dimming chance of a pre-election Trump trial. Supreme Court impeachment plan released by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Biden warns Supreme Court presidential immunity ruling is dangerous precedent. The Nation comments as, the president can now assassinate you, officially, and Huffington Post comments as, Supreme Court gives Joe Biden the legal okay to assassinate Donald Trump.
Crypto exchange CoinDCX acquires Dubai's BitOasis. U.S. judge sets stage for NFT securities trial as DraftKings lawsuit moves forward.
Filipinos can now use Tether's USDT on TON blockchain for social security payments. Russian regulator encourages use of crypto to counter sanctions. Ahead of the UK election, major parties remain silent on crypto issues. EigenLayer competitor Symbiotic crosses $1 billion in deposits in under a month. DWF Labs launches $20 million fund to support Web3 projects in Chinese-speaking regions. Revolut CEO confident on UK bank license approval as fintech firm hits record $545 million profit, and Revolut planning to offer mortgages in Ireland from next year.
Bitcoin slides on Biden drama, risk of sales linked to MTGOX, as in cryptocurrency market crash. $90 billion erased from global crypto market cap within hours. Biden's odds of dropping out surged to almost 80% on Polymarket after New York Times report. New York Times reported that Biden tells allies he knows he has only days to salvage candidacy.
Bitcoin set for worst week in nearly a year on Mt. Gox liquidation fears, as Mt. Gox begins repaying Bitcoin to creditors a decade after exchange's collapse. German MP urges government to halt BTC sales in lieu of need for strategic reserve.
In Ethereum hodling, 78% of supply locked in diamond hands, Nvidia soars 2,782% in 5 years, outshining Bitcoin and Ethereum. Token merger of SingularityNet, Fetch.ai, and Ocean Protocol goes live.
Circle snags first stablecoin license under EU's new MiCA crypto rules. Crypto custody firm Anchorage offers investment returns through deal with Cumberland-backed Hashnote. Sony gets ready to launch crypto exchange in Japan with acquired Amber platform.
Cryptocurrencies granted legal status in Turkey under new crypto law. U.S. Marshals Service announces partnership with Coinbase to manage and dispose cryptocurrencies.
Crypto-friendly Silvergate Bank pays $63 million to settle charges with SEC, Fed, California regulator. Roaring Kitty lawsuit over GameStop is withdrawn for now. Recently, Roaring Kitty's favorite meme stocks are tanking as the trader faces securities fraud claims over past social media posts. Hackers stole $176.2 million in crypto in June.
The conversation comments as, Russia has become so economically isolated that China could order the end of war in Ukraine. The Guardian comments as, when power shifts, so does the money. Megadollars fill labor's coffers.
Philippine fried chicken giant Jollibee buys South Korea's composed coffee. Online shopping warehouses are creating new American boomtowns. A new Trump Tower is coming to Saudi Arabia in 2028.
In France, Jean-Marie Le Pen declared unfit to stand trial over misuse of EU funds. In the U.S., survivors of Tulsa Race Massacre call on Biden to open investigation into 1921 attack. 3 weeks ago, Oklahoma Supreme Court dismisses lawsuit brought by survivors of Tulsa Race Massacre. In Brazil, military pensions will cost $856 billion in the coming decades, 60% of the value for retired civil servants.
Israel announces largest appropriation of state land in West Bank since Oslo Accords. Some Israeli hostages have attempted suicide, Islamic Jihad armed wing says. Southeast Asian militant group Jamaah Islamiyah to be disbanded, say its senior leaders.
Firms from Middle East, Europe are eyeing Hong Kong IPO thanks to cross-border schemes, claimed UBS. Bloomberg comments as, UK becomes safe haven for investors spooked by France chaos. China launches rail service with Europe via Russia.
Airways. Germany stops planned sale of VW's gas turbine business to China. In Argentina, the government defines the new wave of 5,000 layoffs in the state amid strong protests.
Nancy Pelosi disclosed stock market trades made by her husband. He loaded up on AI plays like Nvidia and sold Tesla. SoftBank lost 99% when the dot-com bubble burst. Now it's all in on AI. Cryptocurrency investors are more likely to self-report dark tetrad personality traits, study shows.
Raids find luxury handbags being made by exploited workers in Italy. In Spain, Glovo founder faces 6 months to 6 years in prison for undermining workers' rights. 18 months ago, Spain's delivery platform Glovo fined again for breaching labor laws. EU malls closing off duty exemption for cheap goods that helps Shein, Temu, AliExpress.
DJI further diversifies from drones with the Avinox East Bike Drive system. Sony won't phase out Blu-ray movie and game discs, only ceasing production on consumer BDR. BTS member Jin expected to take part in Paris Olympics as a torchbearer from South Korea.
Financial Times comments as, Market forces are not enough to halt climate change. Bloomberg comments as China's investment bankers join the Communist Party as morale and paychecks shrink.
Belarus officially joins SCO, becomes its 10th member state. Russia considers Armenia its ally, Deputy PM Overchuk says. Turkey's Erdogan offers to help end Russia and Ukraine war. Kremlin rules him out as intermediary.
In the U.S., Lincoln's best-selling vehicle is a Chinese import. Voice of America comments as, reports of visa checks. Deportations worry Chinese STEM students in U.S. Nearly a week ago, Next Shark reported that U.S. to restrict Chinese students in STEM fields. U.S. deports 116 Chinese migrants in first large flight in 5 years.
Hudson's Bay Company to purchase U.S. department store Neiman Marcus, reports. In the U.S., judge delays ban on non-compete agreements for small number of employers. Pakistan stocks downgraded to frontier market by FTSE Russell. Final Fantasy's Hironobu Sakaguchi has no interest in returning to the series he created. Spin Master reveals first toys and collectibles for PlayStation Studios games from Sony Interactive Entertainment. Nintendo has no plans to use Gen AI in games, instead delivering value that cannot be created through technology alone.
Munition, Germany secretly hands over huge arms shipment to Ukraine. Russia twice sent attack submarines towards Irish Sea. Black Sea mine hunting operation begins. Italy wants to order more than 550 tanks from Rheinmetall.